Hi everyone, this is Aga from EurekaCrystalBeads.com and I'm here with a super fun beading tutorial for you. But before I get started, just a quick reminder to check out the rest of our channel, and if you like what you see, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you're notified about our new content. In this video, I'll show you how to make this lovely bracelet that I called the Berry Square Bracelet, or in general, this is the Berry Square segment, and that's because it's square and the inside made with the 6mm Firepolish beads kind of looks like a berry, maybe a raspberry or blackberry. So I thought that's an apt name for this. And I made this colorway, which I'm going to be finishing in this video, and which is the primary colorway with beads from our October 2025 LITE collection, the Polychrome Glow Collection LITE. This is the inspiration photo for this collection. It's a beautiful one. And these are the beads from this collection. This alternative colorway of the supplies to make it, or similar supplies that we currently have in stock, will be listed under the first link in the description, so go check them out. But in general, what you need to make a bracelet or a segment like this, because you can very well make this segment into an earring or even like a big ring, why not? So to make this, you're gonna need, first of all, 4 6mm Firepolish beads, and all of the quantities that I'm going to give you in a moment are for one segment. And one bracelet will typically take you 6 segments. I think that's a pretty optimal size. You can always add some more length by adding extra jump rings, but I think 6 will be good for most wrists. So for each of those segments, you're gonna need 4 6mm Firepolish beads, then exactly 10 3x2 Chinese faceted rondelle beads, then 8 6mm bugle beads, plus 3 for every end of the bracelet. Then for each segment, you're gonna need 4 mini GemDuos beads, a lot of 11-ohs, and for this one, I don't think this will look as good and come out as good with Miyuki's. So I do recommend you use Toho beads. So these are Toho round 11-ohs. And finally, you're gonna need 8 round 8-oh beads for each segment. And for the 8-ohs, I actually do recommend Miyuki beads because they are a little bit flatter than Toho, so they have a little bit of a flatter profile. They're not as wide. But Toho 8-ohs will be great as well. For tools, you're gonna need a needle, and I'll be using a size 12 needle, and I'll use that with a 6-pound Fireline and the color crystal for me. Plus, to finish the bracelet with this, I think, quite brilliant solution. I think it's brilliant because I hate when a bracelet is like wide, but you need to connect it to a small clasp that has like one loop. And if you try to do it by just attaching it to like the middle part, the middle element, most of the time it's just gonna pull and this is gonna curl up or down. And if you just connect it to the sides, it's not gonna look good either. But thanks to the bugles here, it's all super nice. And you connect it with 2 jump rings, so you're actually going to need 2 jump rings on either side of the bracelet. And for this one, I'll be using the ball and socket clasp that was in the collection. I really like those. They're very easy to open and close with just one hand. But you can also use, for example, a toggle clasp like this one here. This one is actually from the Blush Meadow collection that we recently restocked, so you might still catch it. And that's all the supplies. You're also going to need some scissors to cut off your thread and some flat nose or chain nose pliers to close the jump rings to connect the bracelet to your clasp. Alright, that's it. Let's start beading. Alright, so for this bracelet, you actually make each of the segments separately, and after you finish one, you just connect it to the previous one. So each of the segments you start from scratch. I put about half a wingspan of thread on my needle. For the middle segments, you're gonna need just about half a wingspan. And for the elements that will be at the beginning and at the end, just a little bit more than that. And you start with your 4 Firepolish beads. Oh, and by the way, in the collection, you actually get exactly as many of them as you need to complete a bracelet, plus 1, because there's 25 of them and you need 24 to make 6 of those square segments. I'm going to pass through all of those 4 beads again to create a circle out of them. Or actually, is it more of a square? You tell me. I'm gonna cut off the thread from the spool and I'm going to tie a knot, and don't be shy about it being tight. You do want this connection to be tight, so I tie 3 knots on that thread. And I'm gonna pass through the first of the 4 Firepolish beads and I just hit the knot inside one of those beads. I'm gonna keep the tail for the time being because I like holding onto it as I bead, but you can cut it off if you want. I'm going to pick up 7 11-ohs. Okay, that's 7. And I'm gonna look for the bead opposite to the bead that my thread is coming out of. So this one, and I'm gonna pass through it. I kind of want to put those beads on top of this bead that I'm skipping. So you put those beads on top here. I'm gonna pick up 7 again, 7 beads. And I'm going to pass through the initial bead that my thread was coming out of. So again, I'm skipping this bead here, and I'm just passing through the bead opposite to the one that my thread is coming out of. And I want to place these beads on top here as well. Now I'm going to pass through the first 7 beads again, because at this point they are quite loose and I just want to make them lay here a little bit more firmly. So I'm just passing through all of those beads down towards that Firepolish that I initially attached them to, and I'm going to pass through that Firepolish bead. That's right. Now I'm going to pass through 4 of the 7 beads on this other side because I want to be coming out of the middle one. Right, just like here. And I'll pick up 1 rondelle bead. And I'll find the middle 11-oh in the sequence on the opposite side. And I'm going to pass through it from the same side. So if your thread is coming out towards the top, you're going to pass through the bead on the other side from the top as well. So I'm connecting the middle bead in each of these 2 sequences. I'm going to pick up another rondelle and pass through the bead on this other side. Connecting them, this is going to create sort of an X in here. I'm going to pass through all of those beads again, just because I don't want them to get loose. And now as I'm passing through the 11-oh in the middle of one of those sequences on the side, I'm passing through the remaining beads as well, downwards towards the Firepolish beads. Make sure that the rondelles on top are quite tight. And passing through the 6mm Firepolish again. And that's the X that's on top of the sequence. And now I'm going to be adding 2 8-oh beads in between the Firepolish. So I'm just passing through the next Firepolish, super easy. And you just want to make sure that those 8-ohs are placed somewhat like this. You want them to create a sort of a V shape. I add 2 between this and the next Firepolish. Here's my third sequence of 2. And the last 2 over here. Now as I pass through this last and at the same time first fire polish, I can also pass through the first of the two 8/0s that I added as the first pair. And now in between the 8/0s, I'll be adding my mini GemDuos, and I want to make sure that the GemDuo is facing the top of my beadwork with its convex side. So I'm actually picking it up wrong right now because it should be facing like this. So I should go through this bottom hole like that. And I'm passing through the second of the 8/0s over here, just the 8/0, so not the fire polish anymore. And you want to pull tight, and this is going to end up between the 8/0s. Now I'm going to pick up 4 11/0s, and I'm gonna go over the fire polish and through the first 8/0 in the next sequence from the side where it's connected to the fire polish towards where it's connected to the second 8/0 in the pair. Now in between the two 8/0s, I want to add my mini GemDuo. I make sure that I'm picking it up by the right hole from the right side, and I just pass through the second 8/0 in the pair. Now I'll add 4 11/0s on top of this fire polish. There's 4. I pass through the first of the two 8/0s. Each time I make sure to pull tight. Now my third mini GemDuo, adding in between the 8/0s. 4 11/0s again. And my last mini GemDuo. Well, and the last sequence of 4 11/0s as well. Now as I pass upwards through this first 8/0 in this first pair, I also pass through the hole in the mini GemDuo, the first one that I added. I step up through the other hole of the mini GemDuo. So this is where your thread is going to be visible, unfortunately, on the side. And I actually do think that a black thread would be better for this one, but since I started with the white, I'm just going to continue. It's not going to be that visible. Right, now we're going to connect the second holes of the mini GemDuos, and we're going to also attach the sequence that we'll add here to the 11/0s that we added in the previous row. So first, you pick up an 11/0, a bugle, a rondelle, and an 11/0. And I'm gonna go backwards, so my thread is coming out towards this side here. And I'm gonna go backwards and pass through two middle beads in the 4 11/0s that I added in the previous row. So just like this. So for this one, you wanna make sure that you pull tight. It should end up looking like this somewhat. I'll pick up another single 11/0 and I pass through just the rondelle from the side where it's connected to the bugle towards the front. So I want kind of the rondelle to be connected to the seed beads below on both sides. And when you pull tight, this is what happens. This is what it looks like. Now another bugle and 11/0. And you pass through the free hole of the next mini GemDuo. And after you pull tight, they should pop right in like this. Now we're gonna add a sequence on top of this mini GemDuo, and the sequence is going to be 2 11/0s, a rondelle, and another single 11/0. And I'm going to pass through the 11/0 and the mini GemDuo like this. So I'm entering from the side where the 11/0 meets the bugle and following through the mini GemDuo. Pull tight. Now I'm going to pass through the first of the 11/0s that I added. So I come out in between the two 11/0s. And this is where the thread should be coming out. Now time to add a bugle rondelle and an 11-0. We're not adding an 11-0 in the beginning because it's already here. It's connected to the mini GemDuo. So with this sequence, you go back through 2 middle beads in the sequence of 4 over the Firepolish. You add a single 11-0 and connect to the rondelle, entering from the side where it meets the bugle. This is where you want to pull tight, and voila. Now a bugle and an 11-0 to connect to the next mini GemDuo. Now we're adding the sequence over the mini GemDuo, and that's going to be 2 11-0s, rondelle 11-0, and passing through 11-0 and mini GemDuo like this. Now through the first of the 2 11-0s. Again, time for the sequence of bugle rondelle 11-0. Backwards through the 2 middle 11-0s. Adding 1 11-0 through the rondelle. Bugle 11-0 through the mini GemDuo. 2 11-0s, rondelle 11-0, going around the mini GemDuo through the first 11-0. And this is going to be the last sequence. Bugle rondelle 11-0. Another 11-0. Bugle 11-0. And now as I pass through the mini GemDuo, I can also pass through the first 11-0 that I added here in this row. And I'm still missing the sequence on top of this mini GemDuo, so what I need to add is 11-0, rondelle 11-0. And I pass through the 11-0, the mini GemDuo. And that's basically all of the beads that you'll add in this segment. So congratulations, we're almost done. Now, I just like to polish it up a little bit at this point. And to do that, I'm going to go up through this 11-0 again, through the 11-0 rondelle, 11-0 on top of this mini GemDuo. And now as I go down through this last 11-0, I also pass through the bugle rondelle bugle in the side of the square that it's created. And that's exactly what I'll do. I'm going to connect the bugles with the sequences of 11-0 rondelle, 11-0 in the corners there. This is going to make the sides a little bit straighter. Alright, I connected all of my bugles to the corner sequences of 11-0 rondelle 11-0. It looks a lot straighter and more fully formed. Now it's time to connect this to the previous segment in the bracelet. Now to do that, you need to be exiting one of the 11-0s in those sequences on the corners, just like that. And I'm gonna line it up with the previous square. Now for this, I just made them all face the same way. So if you notice the X's right here in the middle, well, their X's are not exactly symmetrical. So if I did it like this and connected them like that, the X would be kind of laid on its side. So I'm just lining them up so that they face the same way. And what I'll do is I'll pick up a single 11-0 and I connect this 11-0 to the corresponding one in the previous segment. So I'm going upwards. And I actually forgot that you're also going to need rondelles to connect your segments. So for each segment, you're not going to need 10, but 12 of the rondelle beads. So you pick up a rondelle bead at this point, and you connect the 11-0s on the other side. I'm going to pass through all of those 4 beads again to strengthen the connection. And if you don't, it will get loose as you go forward. So I really do recommend that you go through the beads twice. And now as I go down for the second time, I'm going to pass through the bugle and the rondelle on the side. And now I'm going to connect the 2 rondelles in the 2 sides of these 2 segments with 11-0s. So again, super simple. I pick up a single 11-0 and I connect this rondelle to this one, entering from the same side that my thread is exiting. I'm adding another 11-0 on the other side. And in here again, you just want to pass through all of those beads one more time to make the connection stronger. And as I pass through the rondelle for the second time, I also pass down through the bugle and the 11-0 in the side of this new segment. Now my thread is coming out like outwards, so I pick up a rondelle bead, connect the 2 11-0s here, connect them with an 11-0 from the bottom side, pass through all 4 beads again, alright, and for the middle segments, this is where you tie a knot, weave in your tail, and trim off the excess thread. But since this is the last segment, I'm just gonna go through the beads along the side of my square so that I can add and connect the clasp. And again, you want to be coming out of the 11-0 here. And I'm gonna pick up a bugle and then 6 11-0s. I'm gonna slide them down my thread. And I'm actually going to pass through the 6 11-0s again so that they create a circle. Let me just find the right angle. So entering from the side where they meet the bugle. And now as I pull tight, they create a circle. And I'm gonna pass through that first one again. So that there's like a bugle and then an 11-0. And now I want to add another bugle and another 6 11-0s. Once again, I slide them down the thread. And I'm going to pass through all of them again, entering from that side where they meet the bugle. Now through the first one again. Now my last bugle. And I connect it to the 11-0 on the other side of this square. And voila. But I naturally want to pass through the beads in the sequence of 3 bugles and 2 11-0s again. And the way to do that is to pass through the bugle in this top or bottom side of the square. And now, as I sometimes do, I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm just going to tie a little knot over here. So I just go under some threads connecting the beads, make a loop, go through that loop, pull it down, and go right back up through the bugle that I came through just a second ago. So I just turned back, so that I can pass through the beads in this new sequence again. This time just the bugles in the 2 11/0s until I reach the other side. I'm going to pass through some more of the beads, tie a proper knot this time. So I'm going to pass through the loop that I create like 2 times. I'll weave in my tail. And now it's time to connect the clasp. Alright, so I brought 2 more of those gorgeous rainbow jump rings, and I'm going to do the exact same thing as I did for the bar part of this toggle clasp. So I'm going to put on and close 2 jump rings on the 2 loops in the bracelet. I'm just putting it on and closing it. And a second one. Now the third one, I'm going to put on these 2 jump rings that I added here, like that. Now you technically could add your clasp over here, but then it will be connected like sideways, and we don't want that, so that's why the extra jump ring. So you're gonna need 4 jump rings for this particular clasp. So that's the 4th, and I'm putting it on that 3rd one. And now is when I can put on the clasp, but this is just for the socket part of the clasp because the ball part actually does have a large enough loop in here. Alright, so that was today's tutorial using beads from our October 2025 Polychrome Glow Collection LITE. As I mentioned, all of the supplies I use here today will be listed under the first link in the description down below. They are all available from EurekaCrystalBeads.com. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial and see you in the next one. Bye!